So I would ask you, Eamon Rockey, when you walk into a bar, what you would order, but I have a feeling that when you walk into a bar, you're gonna order your very own spirits.
If it's there, that's true.
If it's there, and I think that the goal is to get it everywhere.
That's right.
Right? You made it in New York, so you made it there, so now you're gonna make it everywhere.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
So
far, so good.
So I chose to make a Manhattan, but you chose which spirit we were going to use.
Yeah.
And you chose Harlem Standard, and why did you choose that?
Well, I'm a Harlemite, and I'm a New York spirit, so this feels like a really significant choice that, represents another small brand. Brand's good people, and we like to support good people.
We do, and especially here in New York, obviously the Big Apple, and it doesn't get more New York than an apple liqueur, Rockey, and obviously the Harlem Standard. So let's go ahead, and we are going to make a Manhattan, and
Yes.
I'm going to put it on the rock, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to put it on the rock once I put it on the rock. So.
Okay. The suspense.
Because we have something exciting coming up. I think you know that in November we have New York Bartender Week.
I'm aware, yes.
And you are part of that week, your beautiful spirit. And we chose that as our spirit that we want to use because we are also New Yorkers.
I'm finding this out in real time.
Real time, because this is what we do here. We do things in real time.
Yeah.
But we like to have a little bit fun with our cubes here. And so as you can see, this is a green apple cube that we're going to use on our Manhattan with our beautiful Harlem Standard and our Rocky's liqueur with our little vermouth.
Beautiful.
And of course, because there's no Manhattan without a little bit of a cherry on top.
For people who don't know, it's 6 a.m. here.
Yeah.
So we're really starting strong.
We're really committed. I mean, we're in the bar business, so like what?
Professionals.
We're professionals.
That's right.
So cheers.
Gorgeous.
Yes. Yes, to a Rocky Apple Manhattan.
That was delicious.
Rocky, welcome to Now We Sip Champagne, and today we are sipping your spirit, Rocky's botanical apple liqueur. We are having a Manhattan, which couldn't be more so. Cheers to you being. Yes, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
This is delicious, truly delicious.
And I'm a Manhattan girl. This is really good.
Yeah.
When I fall in love with a spirit or when I have certain loyalty to it, I will go and I'll be like, where is it? Why isn't it on the bar? And I find myself doing that with Rockies when I go to certain venues. I'm like, why don't you guys have this in? I don't understand. How am I supposed to order a Manhattan, an apple Manhattan? So this is the way that people should be drinking their Manhattans. I mean, if you're in the Big Apple, why
Especially in
wouldn't
the fall, right?
Especially in the fall. You want those apples. You want to feel that way. You're going apple picking. You're taking your photos with those apples. And so you've picked them. You're making an apple pie. You should have an apple Manhattan. You should have an apple liqueur. So it's really, really beautiful. So I was telling you off camera, but I'm going to tell you on camera. You are the first one on the podcast that is somebody in the industry that has their own spirit, their own brand, and you have quite the history in this industry. This is a podcast for hospitality professionals. We all have these really interesting stories about how we came about, and we intended to do one thing with our lives, but then, life took us in different directions, and then, fast forward, like here we are. And you own your own spirit. And I can tell you that, I am very particular. I create all my cocktail menus. I have, certain bartenders that put certain cocktails on, or I will consult with, certain people. But at the end of it, I have the say on the spirits. I have the say on the design. I have the say on the taste and the look because I am very particular. And I remember way back when, 2017 is when I opened UES, the ice cream speakeasy on the Upper East Side. And you came in and you wanted to get Rockies in, or you had brought by samples and you were just, hitting the pavement to get your brand out.
Not much has changed.
No. And it wasn't whether it was, we brought it on because I put it on the menu. It wasn't on the cocktail menu at first, but it was definitely on the menu. You always showed up and showed support because I can tell you that we get brands that come in on the daily. This is the best spirit you ever had. This is the newest spirit you've ever had. You should this, and then you never hear from them again. You never see them again.
Yeah.
But now here at Champagne Problems, Rocky's has a dedicated spot on the menu in the cocktail. Yeah, on the Ugni Blanc de Blanc. And I can tell you, it is everyone's favorite. It is,
wow,
oh my God.
Cool.
Oh, it's a beautiful cocktail. So the Ugni Blanc de Blanc. So Ugni is the grape in France that cognac is made up. So we use the Hennessy cognac and then we pair it with the Rocky's apple. We make our own caramello syrup and we top it with a little bit of sparkling champagne. And people fucking love it. That grape plus that apple. It's like we were talking about, earlier. It's not too sweet. It doesn't taste like, I hate to say it, like a Midori, right? Like it's not that, and no disrespect to Midori, because we got to start somewhere.
That's right.
We had to start somewhere with these liqueurs, but we've grown up.
Sure.
We've grown up in the liqueur industry where, and we'll get into it because you have a chef background.
true.
So you have taste. You're not just going to put some bullshit sugary item out there. You're going to want the taste to come through. And this is so beautiful. And we chose this as our spirit to participate in New York Bartender Week this year because of how beautiful it is. So, let's just get into it. Rocky.
I've also never felt more grown up than being in the tiger chair.
Oh, please,
I've arrived. I feel like as though I've actually arrived today.
You're a fucking grown up, man. Cheers to that. Cheers to being grown up, because that is, in that chair, just so you know, when I was designing actually UES, because UES has got that Gatsby vintage speakeasy feel. Originally, my plan for UES was a bunch of different vintage furniture. So I drove to Connecticut. I went to auctions. I went all over. I would go on Craigslist. I would find these really incredible pieces, and I accumulated all of them. And then I brought them into UES. And unfortunately, the thing about furniture is it takes up a lot of space. And so I found once I brought it in that I couldn't seat as many bodies. So I was like, no, the only way that I'm going to be able to get more people in is just to do the straight banquette type of thing, so that I could really squeeze people in, because UES is only 1,000 square foot. So I put this antique furniture in a fucking storage unit in the Bronx in 2017, after I spent a couple of years accumulating it.
Sure.
Paid on it for... It's 2025, for quite some time. And then I finally opened up Champagne Problems. And the original fabric on that was not this tiger fabric. It was something different. But I wanted, as you can see, this is the tiger room. This is a room for giants. This is a room for the people that, don't take no for an answer. This is the room for people that are forging forward, and they're the creatives, and they're, making their own path. So I wanted that to all tie through. We've got our white tiger here. We've got our tiger there. So I reupholstered that. But that chair was finally able to come to life after 9 years of being in storage. And you're sitting in it now as a true tiger, as someone that's really forged forward and pushed their own brand. So why don't you give me a little bit of a history? Where do we start?
Well, just as an aside, just thinking about what you're saying, you should put the date of Joe Exotic's release from prison on the calendar, to make sure he's the first guest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
It'd be perfect, no?
That would be definitely perfect. He would really appreciate that picture back there.
Undoubtedly.
So, yeah, definitely.
To give a really brief background, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. And I remember when I first started hearing about your first bar, the UES, from different industry folks, other suppliers, other founders, everyone consistently said, she earns it. Cortney earns it, and goes out and does whatever is necessary to accomplish the goal, to make the dream come to fruition, So that resonated with me in a big way. And you're right, as we were saying earlier, we haven't had a whole lot of time just to chit chat, right? And it's cool that we're doing this now. But I feel for a long time that, our visions and trajectory and growth in New York and beyond, they've really been in lockstep. So it feels really good to be here.
This is 8 years. This is 8 years we've been in each other's lives.
Yeah.
That I think it was an anniversary party where you first brought that first signed bottle. It was a tall, skinny bottle that I still keep with me that I didn't want to break open because it was a gift that you had given at an Annie party. Well, I had already come up with the cocktails and created, and my vendors know, because they'll contact me. They're like, "Can you swap it for?" I'm like, "No, I cannot. No, I cannot. I created this fucking cocktail with the taste of this spirit."
Yeah.
And I'm also equally as loyal to my spirits. And I say this to my staff all the time, somebody created this. Somebody sat, they tasted things, and then they they chose the glass that it was going to come in.
Sure.
It could be a tall square bottle. It can be a short bottle with your name on it, which is the most beautiful fucking detail. And then they had to choose the font on their label. They had to choose what they were going to call it. They had to make so many choices. So they're a small business. So we are a representation of all these small businesses coming together. And I'm a huge supporter of that, because as starting out as a small business, and then we all want to be big business. You started in one bar. I hope Rocky's is in all over the world. My goal is to put Champagne Problems all over the world.
Yeah.
I want a Champagne Problems in Vegas next year. And then I want a Champagne Problems in London. Then I want one in Dubai. And then as I go there, Rockies will go there too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
it's a concept that scales in both instances, right? There's no reason that Champagne Problems shouldn't be around the world, right? It's ubiquitous like need for people to feel like they can have access to something that makes them feel special, but
Yeah.
it's accessible, right? And that's very much the ethos behind the brand too, right? I want people to be able to feel fancy and also do it every day.
Yeah.
You
Fuck
know?
yeah. And listen, an apple a day.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So let's get back into your history because you went to school to be a chef.
I did.
That's right. So you have a culinary background. So flavors come naturally to you. So taste and quality and these sorts of things. So what was that choice that you left the kitchen and decided to go into spirits?
You know, interestingly, it wasn't really a choice. It was kind of intended initially to be like a couple of years of going from kitchen into bar, dining room, and then to return to the kitchen. And to be frank, I just never went back. You know, after culinary school, I went to school at the CIA in Hyde Park, New York, Hudson Valley. Moved to New York City, which felt very natural. It's only an hour and a half away. I was there this morning. I thought about working in bars and restaurants and in the dining room side of things, read Danny Meyer's book, Setting the Table, and got really excited about that, you know, side of things. And after joining the team at 11 Madison Park back in 2007, you know, when we were just coming up out of a chef change and sort of a concept change in many ways, slowly initially, but then very rapidly. The restaurant was kind of like a cult, you know, and I'd never experienced that before. I was only 20 years old when I started working there.
Oh,
and
shit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're very much like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Very cliquey, very culty, very like, okay, yeah.
It was neat. And I, again, thought I would spend a couple of years learning about service and hospitality and cocktails and wine, and then integrate my way back into the kitchen and ideally open my own restaurant as a chef owner. And, you know, it's funny, like I never closed that chapter, right? So I still almost feel like at some point I still want to go back to cooking in an ownership capacity here in New York, maybe in Brooklyn. But time will tell, you know, it's been a long time. It's been almost 20 years that I've been in New York and never gone back to cooking. But that path from 11 Madison Park to opening a little cocktail bar in Tribeca that now is a Terra, a fine dining restaurant down there.
Wow.
Aska in Williamsburg was the first restaurant I had a steak in, which was really, really cool. And then opening Betony in Midtown, getting Michelin stars at all of them, and learning how to translate the idea of quality and building authentic, you know, visions to fruition, like you are doing here in your restaurants and bars, and creating something that people want to gravitate toward, right? Both in terms of your team, right? That they want to spend time in and they feel like is an expression of themselves that they love, and also your guests, right? The people who come and eat and drink and keep your doors open. So at Betony, my last restaurant, I started thinking more and more about putting something into a bottle, right? Because having the culinary background, learning about wine and spirits, learning about service, making really cool drinks and figuring out how to get people excited, you know, authentically really, really excited about the beverage programs. I felt as though I had a really unique perspective that I could translate into a spirit, put it into a bottle, and offer it to the world. So Rockies is now in 16 states. It's been around for 7 years and going on 7 years. And, you know, the vast majority of that time, it's just been me on the street, you know, bringing bottles around, building relationships with people, asking people like you for, you know, somebody who you know that may like Rockies and may enjoy using it in their cocktail programs, or finding stores that can bring it to the masses. And I can spend time meeting consumers that get excited about it too, right? The last year I was able to finally bring somebody on to help me with Rockies. His name's Chris, and he's doing an amazing job. So it's been really, really cool to see the brand grow, and it's because of these sorts of collaborations, right, that it really works. And to see it going with great momentum in Florida, just like it is in New York and Connecticut, New Jersey, Maine, like, you know, it's growing and growing and growing. And you know that just like Champagne Problems, if you're onto something that's real, like fundamentally real and resonates with people, when each place, each group of people and demographics, regardless of, you know, age, net worth, gender, color, doesn't matter. Everybody's finding their own way to identify with the concept and make it their own. And I think we both have concepts that are fundamentally truth.
Wow, that's so okay. It's crazy because we've both said we've been in each other's paths. We've been in each other's lives for the past 7 years. Probably like right when you started, UES is going to be 8
Absolutely.
in November. So you were right behind, our first opening. But getting to know you, it's so synonymous with the way. And I'm sure you don't know this about me, but I started in kitchens. I started in
Cool.
See? And I started in kitchens. I was 13. I lied about my age. I got a job as a dishwasher. I worked in kitchens washing dishes, and then I was a food runner, and then I was an expediter, and then I was an assistant kitchen manager. I was a kitchen manager for the Cheesecake Factory.
Wow.
And I went all over and I opened cheesecake factories, and that's where I was always the most comfortable, was the back of the house. And I was one of the first ones when I first launched the cocktail menu at UES. A lot of people were like, "This is not how New Yorkers drink. They want it fast and they want it fucking hard. They don't make these very intricate 10-ingredient cocktails." I'm like, they do in London, they do in Japan,
Right.
they do all over the world, they do in Spain. So why aren't we doing it here? And I understand how New Yorkers drink. And so 8 years ago, I was very adamant, and I would say to the staff that a bar line now resembles a kitchen line.
Sure.
So when you step on, you're tasting your purees, you're tasting everything is freshly made. We would have an entire, day dedicated to prep and to R&D and to making sure that everything was quality. Because when I was a chef, we would walk on the line and we would taste everything and make sure it was quality that day. And so now, yes, the same way you would curate something beautiful on a plate is the same way you can curate something beautiful in a glass. And cocktails have made, they made a comeback, 8 years ago. And then all of a sudden I remember, 20-year-olds drinking old fashions. Like that was not it. Like, and I come from Vegas where everyone was drinking just vodka Red Bulls and fucking, Washington apple shots or whatever those shots were, or shots of Patron or shots of Jaeger once upon a time. And so everyone grew up with their taste and realizing that you can enjoy what you drink, because a lot of drinking is about like, okay, you want the buzz. And so people will get through whatever they have to get through to get there. But I'm like, no, you need to keep trying it until you actually enjoy the taste. And then spirits grew up, and then everyone else grew up, and they realized that like, yeah, why wouldn't we want to make something that tastes great as well? And everyone has a different palate, the same way that you would try different cuisines, whether it's, Thai, Italian, Mexican, whatever flavor you go towards, whatever, like I'm a Scotch drinker by trade. I love a Scotch. I also love a peaty Scotch. I'm a brown drinker. I like something aged. I like a bourbon. I like a whiskey. I'm not so much for rums. It's too sweet for me. I'm not so much for cognacs. They're too sweet for me. I don't know who does vodka, but when they do vodka, so why wouldn't we want to make spirits and then also cordials and liqueurs? Man, have they really just like stepped right back into the scene? Because like I was saying to you earlier, the ones I remember when I was, in my early 20s bartending, it was Midori, Kahlua. These were the ones that we had. Obviously, there was a Chambord that broke in on the scene, but it was very just bottles of sugar, and that's fine.
Sour apple pucker.
The sour apple pucker and the blue curacao and all of those sweet things that kind of got it done. And now the bottles, the presentation, like I'm drinking an apple. I'm not just drinking a liqueur that's apple flavored and it's green because you put green dye in it and made it taste a certain way. Like it's something that not only enhances the cocktail and can be combined to make something beautiful, but that can be enjoyed on its own, neat on the rock. On a rock with an apple in it.
That's right.
So, and that's really just, the same way that you would enjoy like a Fernet, or people that do, or enjoy, a bitter or an Amaro or something like that. It's really beautiful for the people that are into the spirits and into the world. So to hear you talk about, coming from kitchens and knowing like taste is what's most important.
That's right.
So you should be the one behind somebody that's putting the taste into people's mouths and creating something that they're going to drink. Because just like you would put out a dish that they're going to eat, they're going to want an equally delicious cocktail. So now stepping into creating your own, what is the first step? What is the first step that you take to creating your own spirit?
Well, I think to speak to that and also loop back around a little bit on what you've been saying that really resonates with me, having worked for 15 years in bars and restaurants, serving drinks, making different components of cocktails, whether they're amari or vermouths or bitters or even just, yummy seasonal fruit thingies or herb things, right? And getting a sense of not just my own palate, but more importantly, the palate of the people that are there to buy things and order things, right? That research, whether it was, conscious or just like came over time organically, right? Then saying to myself, there isn't something on the market that satisfies this need, right? That's low sugar, low alcohol, low-ish alcohol, right? Has a lot of delicious flavor and it's fresh and has lots of fresh citrus in it, right? That keeps it from being cloying, like we've been talking about, those really high sugar liqueurs, some of which are amazing and delicious, but I'm not here to make another version of the same thing, right? And to loop back around on restaurants and bars for a minute, I remember whenever we went to open Betony in 2014 on 57th Street between 5th and 6th. We were 2 or 3 stores down from Bergdorf Goodman, and there were mainstay restaurants there that all had, branzino and spaghetti and different pastas, and some of them were really expensive and nice, but they were like larger portions, not too far away from Broadway, super close to Central Park. And for the first 4 months or so, people came in. We're not very busy at the onset. People came in and they're like, "You guys are doing it wrong. You are going to fail. You are going to close. This is not going to work. You need to look around and read the room and read the neighborhood and look at what other people are doing that are successful and do that." And we found that to be, scary and hurtful,
Yeah.
And as these two guys, my former partner Bryce and I, had created this concept that we really believed in, of doing really fine dining, a la carte, though we could do prefix or tasting menu if you wanted to. That was not huge portions. We certainly fed people for sure, but we wanted it to be more of a fine dining, luxury experience. The first 3 or 4 months that people were coming in, they overtly told us that we were going to fail. And it hurt really, really, really badly. So when we started seeing, people who we thought were critics coming in, people we thought we recognized, we were kind of bracing ourselves for either them saying, "No, this place is worth it, check it out," and go, or yes, they should have looked at the rest of the restaurants in the neighborhood and done something more similar and provided people with a tried and true solution. Luckily, we got 3 stars from the Times. We got a Michelin star. We won best restaurant in the country, from Esquire magazine.
Luckily, come on.
No, but there's luck. There's luck involved. We did a lot of research. We felt convicted that we did the right thing in the right place for the right community, the right people, and we were a crazy out of the gate after those first 4 months, out of the gate success, right? But it was terrifying for a long time. And I guess my point is, having people tell you these drinks are taking too long, there's too many things in them, it doesn't make sense. This isn't what the Upper East Side wants, but that your people are just a few blocks away. And all you have to do is get that message to them, and you're going to have a line down the block, and people are willing to look for the entrance in the potato chips, right? That truth is there. You just have to wait for it, to be patient and stay true to yourself and not bastardize, your vision, because that's when you lose, right? You lose focus. And I do believe that if you build it, they will come. If it's a story that is born out from your own experience. And I'm so proud that I'm, kind of sticking to my guns here. A lot of people said there's not enough liquor in it. This is when I launched 7 years ago and was formulating it 9 years ago. They're like, it doesn't make sense. It needs to have more booze in it. Nobody wants anything that's low ABV. But now
they sure fucking do.
Low ABV is on every menu.
It's a 0 proof world, baby.
It's a 0 proof, low proof world. And like Rockies is the same amount of alcohol as a wine, right?
Yeah.
And that's intentional. That was intentional then, because I'm sitting there, watching for 15 years, watching people become more judicious as to the amount of alcohol they drink, and saying to myself, this group is only going to grow. I didn't know that the cannabis thing was going to happen, to be honest with you.
No, none of us did.
Right.
None of us knew that boom was coming for us. And I'm, in the book, The Black Swans, they talk about the unpredictable and how the world, our lives are just of these unforeseen, things, these outliers, these things that are just going to change the game. And we think that things are planned and predicted, but they're really not.
Yep.
We didn't plan for a pandemic. We didn't know that the world was going to change and go towards whichever direction. And so you have to, as a bar owner, and I can say, yes, people are not drinking in that way. I also know that it's also starting to have a comeback with a different generation, whereas, millennials, 40-year-olds, and even older people, they're drinking more. Younger generations, they're not. They are smoking more, but they still do want to go out and they do want to enjoy something, and they are about activities and they are about experiences.
That's right.
And so they still want to have this beverage that they want to consume. And since I've always been about immersive experiences, I've always been about all the senses. I always believe you should drink outside of the box and to also have fun. All of my venues, even though it's a very simple word, it's just kind of like the word love. You can say I love it or you can say I love you. Depends on what you put behind it. But the word fun can be just as that, oh, that was fun. But no, this is fun. We need to have some fucking fun. We have to have some fucking fun because we're all racing to that same endpoint. And so when people come in for these experiences to have a little bit of fun, they want to have a cocktail because and I have always said this, the mission statement or the ethos in my company is, life happens within these four walls. And between food and drink, this is where we break bread. This is where all walks of life come together. And it's always been the universal unifier is people will come together. They're having conversations, they're making deals, they're having a drink, they're having a dinner, but food and drink brings us together. So when people, it doesn't need to be a cup full of alcohol, or it doesn't need to be a specific cuisine. It can change over time. And entrepreneurs and people that still love their industry, we're going to change it, right? Once upon a time, food looked maybe a certain way, or it was a certain trendy item that we were making and we're creating differently. And so to have a spirit that is not high ABV that people can, like you said, enjoy. And my gosh, like aperitifs and something before dinner, something after dinner, something during dinner to keep them going. As a bar owner, we love to be able to finish them off with something that they can sip on, right? Something like this is a great finisher. This is something that's going to complement the end of your dessert. You're going to get this beautiful tart, or you're going to get this delicious, even a chocolatey something would go delicious with that. Sip on it the same way we would sip on, maybe it's a cognac or maybe it's not. But so it has so many different legs to it where just like alcohol in it, it's limiting.
That's right.
It's limiting. So what you've created is something that people can have in so many different ways. And that's just, and like to what you said. So this has been like a common denominator. I feel like I've had this conversation quite a bit. And I feel like, the people that speak the same language, I always say like attracts like, and that it makes sense to us when we say it. But truly, we're all given this one shot on this earth. We're all given the same 24 hours, 7 days a week. But if we're going to choose what we do with our lives and our time, it has to be something that we love.
Hopefully.
And nothing fucking comes through if you don't like genuinely love it or believe in it. Like you said, you believed in the menu you were putting out, and you didn't want to just be a copy and paste of everything else in the neighborhood. You wanted to have your own soul. You wanted to have your own ethos. You wanted to have your own language and something behind it, and your audience will find you. You've been in my spaces and they're unique. Everyone knows my brand. They know the Bond Group brand. They know that when you step into one of these places, it's going to be like an explosion of color and detail, and you're looking all over the place, and that's not for everyone, and that's okay. Some people have come in here, they're like, what 5-year-old designed this place? That's cool, baby. Like, it's not for everyone, but I am a colorful, loud person, and for the people that it's for, it's really for. It's really for. And it's the most incredible thing when they've come to Champagne Problems down, my third venue, and they're like, oh yeah, I had my birthday at UES, and I used to go to drag bingo at Not a Speakeasy, and we went to your gingerbread house making party at Not a Speakeasy, and then we also did the Gatsby New Year's Eve at UES, and now here we are for the opening of Champagne Problems. Like, they're my audience. They're the people that want to drink out of a duck or a shark or a panda or something fucking fun, and knowing that they're going to drink out of a duck or a shark or a panda, but the ingredients inside are going to be just as quality, because we will not Instagram trick them. This is not a fucking cheap fucking thrill or a cheap trick where I just get something cute for you to drink some bullshit sugar bomb in. This is something where I take my spirits very, very seriously. I take my cocktails very, very seriously, and I want you to enjoy it because I enjoy a banging cocktail. When I go out, I am a spirit-forward, less sweet drinker. So when I go to a bartender and maybe they want to ask me or something, this is what I say. Or I'll find a cocktail on the menu and I'll say, this looks great. Is it very sweet? Maybe they'll say yes. I'm like, okay, can I get it maybe less sweet? It's not always the case that I can get a cocktail that is what I've asked for. A lot of times, even if I've asked for it, spirit forward, less sweet, I will get a fucking cup of sugar. I'll pay for it. Okay, fine. And then I'll just switch to something neat. And someone might ask, like, why don't you just order a spirit neat or on the rock? It's because it can be done. Because it can be done.
Absolutely.
I can have a fucking banging cocktail that's not a cup of sugar. I'm having one right now. And so I like to see this out there and something for all the different palates. And obviously, if somebody were to want this exact same cocktail, but sweeter, we can make it sweeter for them and they would enjoy it that way. And I feel like, the spirit that you've created or, the cordial, the liqueur that you've created, you really did it the right way.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I know that obviously 7 years later, there were probably definitely times where you were like, what the fuck have I committed my life to? Why am I so behind it? But, they can't get us down. So when you love something, you do put up that fight. You put up the good fight. And I think that overall, here we are 7 years later. I remember you coming in, trying to introduce Rockies, and I couldn't slow down really for it, but put it on because I appreciated anybody that wants to pound the pavement like that wants to say, you also showed interest in my venue and you always showed support. You came to the anniversary parties, you were there, you were in the building, whereas we get a lot of samples dropped off and you never see that person again. And now, like I said, here you are as a staple, but also somebody that I'm really proud to represent the same way that I'm always proud to represent all the artists that are in my venues that I take with me everywhere. And this person put their heart and soul behind this piece of art, behind this bottle, behind this liqueur. You have a story. And that's honestly why I launched this podcast. It's to tell the stories of those people. Because if somebody ordered Rockies, they don't know that it's by Rocky himself, or maybe they don't know that you came through. Maybe it's a chef that's ordering this for just a glass after a shift, after a hellish shift.
It's kind of even cooler if somebody doesn't know, right? And they just like it and it identifies with them in some capacity, right?
Yeah, but I feel like, especially in a world where right now connection is super, super important, I feel like that's why I was adamant about having you on. You're the very first, owner of a spirit. And there are, many, and we will have many on, but I wanted to be the first one because I remember you first trying to get your brand in so many years ago. You've essentially been a part of my story as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's really
beautiful.
special. And not only that, but like my staff, when I hear them, tour guide, Your Spirit, and Lena, who also started with me, she started with me as a coat check girl. She was Tom Sanford, who's the gentleman that does all the art for my venues, and he's the Harlem guy that I was telling you about. She was his au pair. And then his kids grew up and he sent me a message and he's like, my au pair needs work. She's from Turkey. She really doesn't know anything. But the kids are grown. I'm like, well, she doesn't really have the language or the background. I was like, the only thing I can really give her is coat check girl. So I gave her coat check girl at not a speakeasy. And she was sharp. Man, she was sharp. She would catch people stealing cups and she would be on them. And then it was like one shift, I threw her in and I made her a server and she really stumbled through because, again, her language, she was trying to get it. Fast forward to today, she's the head bartender at Champagne Problems. And I put her in her first competition and to challenge her for the first time for New York Bartender Week. And we were talking about, we had the list and it was like, obviously the both of us are the exact same. Oh my God, we want to use Rockies. Not only do we already use Rockies, but she already, she had met you and she was really proud to serve you. And she was really proud. She created this cocktail, on her own, pushed herself to her. Wow. Yeah. So it's just like exciting all around. And it's exciting all around, especially when you can support others, when you have any sort of vehicle to help support somebody else. It's also fighting the good fight. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing when you feel like you're helping someone, right? I mean, and obviously like enjoying like a delicious cocktail like along the way. Yeah. Okay, so you said that you might want to get back into restaurants one day. So, but like, what is next on the list for Rockies? Give me a couple of bullet points of what's next.
Well, with Chris now as the New York Metro manager for the brand, he's very excited to meet you and your team as well at some point very soon. But he's, getting his legs under him now. He's within his first year and doing a great job. I now feel much more comfortable being able to go to Atlanta or to Florida or Chicago or wherever, right, to grow the brand and continue to spread the gospel on it. It's focused primarily on the East Coast and moving a little bit west now, but there's a lot of opportunity and the demand continues to be really, really, really high. That's for me sort of affirming, as hard as it gets, and it always, has challenges. Life always has challenges, and growing a brand certainly does too. Consistently, there's a lot of positive reception for it. So it keeps me feeling really inspired and grateful. That said, next fall, fingers crossed, if I can keep everything on track, I'm releasing the first ever line extension of Rockies. So I guess now saying it on a podcast, it has to happen.
It has to happen. You have to put these things out in the universe.
Yeah,
I'm
for
a
sure.
big proponent. Yeah, you say it and you keep saying it.
Yeah.
You keep fucking saying it until it comes true. I said for 3 years I'm going to open up my own place, this ice cream shop, Speakeasy. Every single time I went to a fucking dinner, they were like, so how's that going? I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I always say, just keep on fucking. And the truth is, anything I've ever said has always come true. So it's really important, the power of, if you ask the universe.
Make sure to stay on your good side,
Yes, yes. And it's, not always easy. And there are definitely times where you're like, fuck this shit. So,
Yeah.
yeah, keep on saying that shit. We're going to get it into Vegas. We're going to get Rockies into Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's
I
go.
can help make that happen.
I believe you.
Yeah, and then we're going to open up Champagne Problems in Vegas at the new Hard Rock that's being built in 2026 because that's my goal. That's why I'm saying this out loud. Hard Rock. And so when we launch at the Hard Rock, the Champagne Problems, because in Vegas with the F&B, they choose you, you don't choose them. So we're going to get chosen because we're going to make waves here in New York, and that's how you have to do it. You have to make waves in New York if you want to float anywhere else.
Yep.
So we make the New York waves, we get into Vegas, we open up with Rockies, and honestly, this is a beautiful spirit that should be everywhere, just along the lines of Campari and Aperol. And speaking of Aperol, and I think too, like, she's made a comeback. She was sitting with dust on her shelf for many, many years. And now she's everyone's favorite.
Spritz season.
As somebody that's been in the industry for 20 plus years, like, to see these things, lemon drops have made a comeback. I cannot believe how many lemon drops are going out. Lychee, she bounces in and out. Right now she's very trendy. These newer generations that are trying it for the first time that, we did forever. But next thing you know, it's going to be like kamikazes. We'll make sour apple kamikazes and get those babies out.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, you are. So, okay, so give me 3 of your favorite bars in the city that Rockies is in.
Well, I'm going to pick 3 places that I think, and we did not prep for this. I wish I had known. I would have been really thoughtful about it. But I also appreciate the off-the-hip thing, too. I was at a bar in Buffalo last night. I pretty much spent the night on an Amtrak, until now. But I was at a bar.
You're looking fresh.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I showered at the gym. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Good. Nice. Yeah.
But I was at a bar, restaurant, a gorgeous place called Oliver's in Buffalo. And if you are in West New York, upstate West New York, in Buffalo, you must have dinner at Oliver's. There's a ton of great places there. Oliver's, in terms of like having a really elegant meal, anybody who likes Gramercy Tavern or whatever in New York City will identify with that style of dining. Super high quality, really hospitality forward, excellent bar program, and really amazing food. Mike and the team there do a great job. He has a drink on the menu called the Joey, and it's a play on a kangaroo cocktail.
Oh, okay.
Which is ish in the Vesper family, vodka and gin, and they use Rockies in theirs. And it made me chuckle because one of my favorite current drinks on menu in New York City, in the country, is at Maison Premier, where they're doing a kangaroo cocktail with Rockies, right?
Yep.
So, to see 2 of my favorite people, Mike and Will, at Maison Premier, at 2 of my favorite bar restaurants, doing similar plays on, I don't want to say obscure cocktail, but a bartender's style martini. You don't see kangaroo cocktails everywhere.
No.
Right? It's a pretty new, or let me rephrase, it's a pretty fresh take on an old school drink.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I got a real warm and fuzzy feeling about it. It was really, really special. There are restaurants that are using Rockies and spritzes all year round, which is beautiful and cool at the other end of the ABV spectrum, right? And spots that are using it as the apple that is natural and not bright green and fluorescent and super crazy in sugar, in things like, apple martinis and apple Manhattans, etc., apple sours. I also love it with anything agave, things with tequila or mezcal or sotol is becoming popular now. There's a couple of small and large brands on the market. Thankfully, it's really cool to see that category explode. And Rockies is delicious with all those too, right?
Mm-hmm.
A buddy of mine in Chicago, Daniel, sent me a picture of a menu of a Rockies white Negroni. And Negronis are on fire right now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Rockies take hold in that style of drink, in that new category, I guess, of Negroni variations that are popping up all over the place. So, and then, going to Orlando and seeing Rockies pop up across Disney properties, in Epcot and in Disney World, across multiple resorts. So there are these tiny, focused, quality, bartender-driven concepts that are using Rockies to make extraordinarily high-quality cocktails, person to person to person, Champagne Problems being one of them, and then to go to a place that has a small and intentional team to buy for hundreds of bars in Orlando for thousands and thousands, if not millions of people on a yearly basis. And they also identify Rockies as being something that can be delicious and affordable and versatile and relevant to their drinks. It means that, for me at least, something is working right, and it's able to be relevant in both of those worlds. And I'm very proud of that. In addition to, it's worth saying that people who are looking for something tasty to mix with their favorite whiskey or vodka or gin or Prosecco at home, this is an easy $23, $24 bottle they can pick up off the shelf, and that answers that problem. It answers that need. It's a natural spirit. It's built from listening to people and watching people's drinking habits, from green apple. I see the apple on your shirt, which is cool. I know.
I wore this for you. Yeah. I dug this out of the archives. Yeah. I used to wear this top when I was a fighter. It's so old. This is like a 20-year-old top. Yeah. It says hardcore. And I was like, because I definitely, know who I'm having on, my guests. And I like to I've always wanted, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to wear for Rockies? And I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, do I even still have this top? It's like worn. But because you're hardcore. I
love it.
That's it. I wore this for you.
That's perfect.
But, and so let me help you answer your question, because one of your top, yes, it's Champagne Problems, one of your top venues that you're going to, that you enjoy having Rockies at, or that you enjoy visiting, is going to be the Champagne Sea, shameless plug, because I am actually launching a spritz down there on the menu. And you haven't even
seen this.
You haven't even seen it. And I wasn't going to tell you. I mean, I'm telling you right now, but there will be a Rockies spritz on that new menu, because it's going to be a limited menu, a new leg to Champagne Problems, where the spritz they could only get in the sea. And so Rockies was the choice that I wanted to make, which is, again, why I wanted to have you on, because after 7 years of you just like, here's my spirit, and I'd love to be here. And I was like, well, we can put it on the back bar, but not yet on the menu. Not only is it going to be on the menu at Champagne Problems, but it's going to now be on the menu in the Champagne Sea in a spritz fashion, where I know that people are going to enjoy, and it's going to go down beautifully, just the same way that this went down beautifully. So, anything, I feel like we all go through this life, and we all have our skill and the things that we've been through. And the best thing that we can ever do is pay it forward and to help others out. And there are so many people that are in your corner that cheer you on, and it goes with Rocky, the fighter, because I was a fighter and you're Rockies. But to have people in your corner that support you, that are indirect, direct, you want to support them back. And so, this was my way of saying, like, I really appreciate all of your support over the years of my venues, and I support you just as well. And not for nothing, because I don't fake anything. I don't fake not a fucking thing. Everybody knows that shit about me. So I wouldn't have you here if I didn't genuinely love your spirit. I didn't see how hard you hustled and pushed, and how much you believed in your own. And like I said, when I talk about it, when we're presenting the bar, I make sure, the labels are facing out. And I tell my staff, like, this belongs to somebody. This is somebody's baby. So make sure that you can fucking see the word. Make sure that you can see their label, because they chose this and they're living this spirit every single day. There's the bigger brands that we know that, okay, whatever. But it all started small. It all started somewhere. It all started with somebody that chose it and made it happen and brought it to life. And
that's entrepreneur mentality. That's founder mentality. That another founder would only understand.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And so I appreciate, from founder to founder, I'm glad that we found each other. Yeah.
Well said.
Okay, so the last question I'm going to ask, why the apple?
Well, so Rockies is made of green apples, pineapple, green and black tea, lemon, lime, and orange. And that combination, as, I don't know, simple-ish as it may seem, like sweet fruit, tart fruit, and tea, it came out of like 9 months of just trying batch after batch and combination after combination of various ingredients, most of which didn't make it into the bottle, right? And the thought process was, what are the things, what are the fruits and spices, herbs, whatever, anything, that make other ingredients, make other spirits, wines, taste more like themselves? My goal here was to really kind of be the supporting character in the cocktail. this is an apple Manhattan, and it shines this one. So the apple is certainly taking a bit of a front seat. But I would say, too, the whiskey is right there on the mic, front and center. The point, I guess, is like I wanted to find the ingredients that in the right proportions, tuned in just the right way, could amplify your favorite wine, your favorite vodka, tequila, whiskey, gin, rum, or if you add half an ounce or an ounce to your cocktail that's just missing something, can be that secret sauce. So I picked the ingredients so they could enhance what you already love. And, to go back, I think, to like the very first thing we were talking about on this podcast was I don't want to be the spirit that comes in and says, stop using that, use Rockies instead. That's never felt like something I wanted to ask people to do, to push somebody else out so that I can take their place. I want to be something that is a value add, right? Whenever a gin producer comes in, and this is in no way a criticism, we all have our hustle, we all have our calling. When a gin producer comes in and says, oh, I see you're using this gin, you should be using mine instead.
Right.
Mine is better or cheaper, has a cooler story, or I'll pay you more money or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever the thing is that's going to be the incentive to kick the other person out of bed and welcome in somebody new, right? I wanted to be the spirit that was cost effective, was complementary to other things, and could just slip right in and be at home and not just add one more component, but rather to amplify the things that were already there. And your green apple Manhattan tastes more like green apple because of Rockies. Your white Negroni tastes more clean, bright, fresh, and a little, clean, bitter because of the use of Rockies. And that applies to every single cocktail and everything else, that you mix it with. To answer the question, I guess more largely, it was so that you didn't have to choose between what you already love and Rockies. It just accompanies it right in.
Yes, that's a beautiful way of putting it, is that you are an enhancement of what's
Right.
already there.
Right.
And you want to not step in front, you want to stand side by side.
That's right.
You want to stand side by side, and you want to just make what's already something even more beautiful. You want to amplify. You want to just help shine a spotlight on that. And I think that you're right. That's exactly true. As I'm thinking about a green apple, because a green apple certainly does carry both a sweet, and I always talk about in terms of flavor, like hard and soft. You have certain ingredients that are hard in the kitchen. It's salt and it's garlic and it's onion. These are like hard. In the bar, you've got bitters and amaros and things that are going to come through, and you have your softs, so that your sugars and your sweets and this. But the green apple carries a little bit of this both. It's this perfect
right.
blend of sour and sweet, where you can pull a lot of beautiful things from different spirits and different palates. And because people will speak to a sweeter palate, maybe a more savory palate, and I feel like a chef is going to be the one that's going to be able to say that. Pineapple, I feel as well, where we know that certain fruits are going to kind of be who they are. But I think you've chosen perfectly. So, well, yes, chef, thank you so much. My goodness. Whew. So cheers to you, and cheers to Rockies, and to our future, to both of us getting
Indeed.
into Vegas, and for you creating the apple in the Big Apple, making it here. And honey, you're going to make it everywhere.
Goddamn right.
Goddamn right. Cheers.
Cheers. to
Yeah,
that.
baby. Cheers.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah.